What I realized was, despite working really, 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 really hard, despite grinding and hustling, that I wasn't actually doing what God had called me to do. God has not called us to hustle and grind. God has called us to work under grace. God has called us to work under rest. God has called us to be able to work by the Spirit and not by our own works. God doesn't want us to obey like robots. He wants us to abide with Him, to be present with Him, to build relationship with Him. And obedience is an afterthought. Obedience is a result of abiding and building relationship with Him. And so obedience became really easy. But what's interesting is I started a business. My very first business was when I was in 5th grade. And God reminded me of my entrepreneurial desires. So in high school, I actually started my very, very first business. But I also brought a lot of my brokenness, a lot of my bondage, a lot of my depression into that business. I thought if I could start a successful business, if I can make a whole lot of money, then all of that will go away. But the reality is I brought that into my business. And there are a lot of entrepreneurs who are broken, who are bonded by things that are holding them back, slowing them down, that think, if I start a business, I'll find freedom. But the only freedom that's ever long-lasting comes from Christ. It doesn't come from entrepreneurship. Oftentimes we dive into personal development because we want to be amazing. And yet we lose sight of focusing on who God has created us to be and who God is in our relationship with God. Because there's going to be moments where I'm sure you felt like an imposter, or I'm sure you felt insecure, where you're comparing yourself with everybody else out there. As you begin to spend time with God, as you begin to realize who God has created you to be, and what your kingdom assignment is, comparison washes away, competitiveness washes away, insecurity washes away, and imposter syndrome washes away, because it has nothing to do with who you are. It has everything to do with who God is and what God wants to do in and through you.